15. Nude bathing, where being naked in nature is not taboo. Hiding among hot springs, the old forests of the Northwest or the Rocky Plateau, nude bathing, that is, being naked when bathing in streams, bathing in hot mineral springs, is a tradition that has existed for hundreds of years in many ethnic minority communities in Vietnam. For them, the human body is not something to be hidden, but a natural gift. There is nothing to be ashamed of. The Red Dao, Thai, Hmong, have separate bathing hours, where men and women are not obvious to each other, but naturalness and openness are absolute. People sit and soak in the warm, herbal-scented water, chat comfortably, and relax after a hard day's work. Some places even organize spring bathing festivals as a rite of passage to adulthood, where young people can fully immerse themselves in nature for the first time, without barriers, without pretense. For visitors, the experience is both embarrassing and profound. You are forced to suspend judgment, erase the Western view of physical beauty, and learn to accept yourself, naked, truly. Dare to try? Or are you still looking at your body through the lens of others? 14. Field mouse, a delicacy sought after as a premium delicacy. Hearing about mouse meat, you may shudder. But in many rural areas of Vietnam, especially in the southwest, field mice are not only a popular dish, but are also considered a heavenly gift after each harvest. Unlike dirty urban mice, field mice here live in rice fields, eat natural grains and seeds, and are sought after by locals as a high-quality protein. Grilled mouse meat, stir-fried mouse with lemongrass and chili, or steamed mouse with lemon leaves have made many tourists both surprised and addicted. At the countryside market, the sight of vendors hanging bunches of cleaned, shiny mice under the sun is all too common. Locals are also proud because this dish is associated with childhood memories, the attachment to the fields and nature. So what will you do when you are offered a plate of hot, fragrant grilled mouse meat? Politely refuse? Or bravely take a bite, and find it's better than you thought? 13. In Vietnam, never point at a dog. You think pointing is harmless? In Vietnam, pointing at a dog can be seen as a criminal offense. No kidding. In many regions, people believe that pointing at a dog will cause its nerves to fail, or it to become stupid. This may sound strange, but for older people, it is a serious taboo. But it is not just a superstition. In Vietnam, dogs are not just pets, they are symbols of loyalty, guardians of the spirit of the house. So pointing, which is considered disrespectful, can be considered an insult to the family's mascot. Ironically, many people keep dogs not to pamper them like Western pets, but to guard their homes, to be old friends, and in some places even eat dog meat, an extremely sensitive and controversial topic that is gradually being opposed by society. So in a country where dogs are both revered and morally controversial, how do you think they should be treated? 12. In Vietnam, even the dead get to move house again. You think after being buried, people will rest in peace forever? Not in Vietnam. Here, the dead can be dug up and moved to a new grave. Sounds creepy? Actually, it's a solemn ceremony called Boc Mo or Sang Cat. After a few years, relatives will rebury, wash the bones, wrap them carefully in red cloth, and move them to a new grave, usually a more beautiful location, more suitable for feng shui, or closer to the ancestors. But the strangest thing is how it's organized. The whole family gathers, burns votive paper, and offers a grand ceremony like a festival. Some places even invite a band of trumpets and drums, and set up a tent like a wedding. The dead are moved house with full rituals, as if they were still alive. For Vietnamese people, death is not the end, but a continuing journey, and ancestors are always a part of our present life. So are you brave enough to attend a grave-digging ceremony where everyone is laughing and having fun? "11. In Vietnam, coffee is not for staying awake, it's for sitting around all day. You think coffee is something to drink in a hurry before work? In Vietnam, coffee is the main reason to do nothing. Vietnamese people don't just drink coffee, they live it. From cramped sidewalk cafes to fancy rooftop bars, every corner of a coffee shop is a miniature world, where people sit for hours, just to sip small sips as if time no longer exists. And this is not the kind of coffee you're used to. Vietnamese iced milk coffee is so strong that the spoon can stand upright in the cup. It's as sweet as hitting you on the head with a milk candy, and as bitter as wrapping all the sadness of youth in a small cup. And egg coffee? Yes, you heard right, whipped eggs, sugar, and strong coffee, blended together in a smooth golden cup like mousse. A twist that's both strange and surprisingly seductive. Vietnamese people can sit and chat from morning to afternoon with a cup of coffee that never changes. Because for them, drinking coffee is not to stay awake, but to live slowly, to watch life pass by like the traffic on the street. So, are you ready to spend an afternoon just drinking a cup of coffee? 10. In Vietnam, eating is a ritual, not for the faint of heart. Do you think a meal is simply sitting at a table, eating, and chatting lightly? In Vietnam, a meal is a social battle that is organized like a traditional ritual. First of all, you cannot serve yourself food. Doing so will make you look as if you have just announced it from the whole table. All the delicious dishes are distributed by a representative, usually the oldest or most important person, and you are forced to wait your turn like a believer waiting for a blessing. Furthermore, if you refuse alcohol, at least 3 people will ask you if you are sick. Saying you can't drink is a sin, refusing to clink glasses is a bigger sin, and leaving early is unforgivable. Why do Vietnamese people eat and drink with so many unspoken rules? Because at the dinner table, you're not just eating calories, you're demonstrating social status, respect and courage. So if you find yourself sitting at a noisy table, your right hand holding a glass, your left supporting your stomach, remember, you're not eating dinner, you're competing. 9. Why are traffic laws just suggestions in Vietnam? You think Vietnam has strict traffic laws and everyone obeys them? Well, there are laws. But it seems that many people consider them a decoration for fun. Have you ever seen 4 motorbike drivers cutting each other off at an intersection, no one looking, no one winning, and no one hitting anyone? That's not magic. That's art. A top-notch collective performance, where each driver is dancing ballet in the middle of the street. Motorbikes climb onto sidewalks, run red lights when no one is looking, or park right in the middle of the street and go for coffee. That's not a violation. That's flexibility. Those who object are often advised, if you like, go to Europe. So how do Vietnamese people survive in this chaotic maze? Simply, they read other people's intentions through their eyes, their steering wheel, and their intuition. Traffic in Vietnam doesn't need signals. It needs you to be enlightened. 8. In Vietnam, apologizing is not as important as smiling. In many countries, bumping shoulders on the street is a reason to apologize immediately. But in Vietnam, you can get into a car accident, and the person who caused the accident will just smile, pick you up and ask, "Are you okay?" No apology. No explanation. Just a smile. In Vietnamese culture, a smile is a social band-aid. It can fix any situation, being late, causing trouble, dropping someone else's things, just smile and it's over. And what's more interesting? Sometimes people laugh when they're angry. It's not because they're happy, but because laughing is a way to avoid screaming. Newcomers are often shocked. Are they happy or are they trying to fight? In fact, smiling in Vietnam doesn't always mean happiness. It's a sophisticated social tool to avoid conflict, save face, or even avoid responsibility. So, if someone annoys you and they just laugh instead of apologizing, don't get mad. Maybe they're apologizing in Vietnamese style. Or maybe not. But laugh first. 7. Time in Vietnam? Just a suggestion. You have an appointment with someone in Vietnam at 8 a.m.? Don't stress if they text on their way at 8:30. And don't be too shocked if they're still stuck in traffic at 9 a.m. In Vietnamese culture, appointment time is a flexible concept, very flexible. The phrase on their way can mean that the person has just woken up. Almost there can mean, I'm thinking about whether to go or not. And if someone says I'll be there in 5 minutes, you should take the opportunity to have breakfast. For Vietnamese people, flexibility in time is not out of disrespect, but because of an unwritten rule, don't let time control you. Life is already fast, why race against the clock? Therefore, foreigners who have just arrived in Vietnam often fall into a state of both anxiety and self-doubt. Did I remember the appointment time wrong? No way. You're just living in the time zone. Vietnam. And if you want to survive in this environment, learn to breathe deeply, accept delays as part of the experience, or better yet, never be on time at all. 6. In Vietnam, dog meat is not an old story, but a drinking party. Do you think dog meat is just a distant memory? Think again. In many regions of Vietnam, especially the north, dog meat is still a specialty, sold openly, even with whole streets of roasted dogs on fire every afternoon. Not everyone eats it, but everyone knows about it. For many people, dog meat is a lucky dish, eaten at the end of the month to get rid of bad luck, or simply bait for a few bottles of rice wine. Western tourists often can't believe their eyes. Why eat man's best friend? But in Vietnam, dogs are both pets and food, sometimes in the same neighborhood. People raise them to hug them to sleep, then walk to the end of the alley to order a plate of steamed dog with perilla leaves. The problem is not about ethics, but about cultural perspective. In Vietnam, there is no clear boundary between pets and food. The chicken in the yard this morning could be dinner. And the dog, too. So if you see a menu with key 2 on it, don't think it's a strange dish. It's just Vietnam showing you, food can be a culture shock. 5. When it rains, rocks in Vietnam ring like bells. Do you think rocks are just inanimate objects? In Vietnam, there is a strange phenomenon that the locals call singing rocks. In some limestone mountains in northern Vietnam, when heavy rain falls, the rocks make strange ringing sounds, like the ringing of bells or the steady rhythmic sound of knocking echoes in the heart of the mountain. Locals tell each other that the rocks here have souls, that every time the sky cries, the rocks also make a sound. This phenomenon has puzzled international geologists. The scientific explanation is that it is the resonant sound from the hollow structure inside the rocks, but no matter what, standing in the middle of wild nature, listening to the rocks ringing in the rain, you will feel like you are lost in a fairy tale world. A place where nature is not only beautiful to look at, but also knows how to talk, breathe, and sing. So have you ever heard a mountain sing? 4. In Vietnam, saying thank you too much can make you suspicious. In most cultures, thank you is a polite expression. But in Vietnam, saying thank you too often can be seen as distant, polite, even fake. Imagine you are given a pen by a close friend, and you thank them profusely. They might look at you and say, "Why are you thanking me so much?" Because here, kindness between acquaintances does not need to be measured or repaid. In Vietnamese culture, especially in rural areas, people show gratitude through actions, through helping others, not just through words. If you say thank you too much, sometimes it creates distance, as if you no longer consider them family. More interestingly, this also affects workplace relationships. In many cases, a silent, understanding response is more appreciated than an empty thank you. So in a society where thank you is used so selectively, how do you express your gratitude? With words, or with the way you live?